Before we begin, thank you very much to Tara A for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting the channel and pitching in, even if it's just a little bit, to help me keep going, because it really is what's keeping me going. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to continue doing this. So, we're going to go back to the PulseCon reveals a little bit here, because there's one of the more interesting things that have had people talking afterwards is the fact that we are getting a core class Dinobot combiner, Volcanicus, as a 6-person combiner. And it's interesting not only because it's a tiny combining Dinobot team, but also because Grimlock is not at the lead. He doesn't form the head. We are leaving that to Slug, which is an interesting and kind of odd choice. So it kind of leads everyone to wonder exactly how this is going to go together, how this is going to look, but more importantly, who's the 6th? Because, they mentioned that they pulled from history in order to create a brand new Dinobot for this team. And, this is kind of a big deal. So, it is legacy. So it is G1 inspired. So it's not like the movies or some other continuity where they can just come up with Dinobots left and right and just take any kind of dinosaur and say, oh, it's a Dinobot now. This is kind of big. This is a character properly joining the original cast of Dinobots at the same size as those Dinobots. It's different. It's unique. So let's go over a little bit of a history for starters of 6 Dinobots, because there are plenty of choices, because obviously it's not a new idea to add to the Dinobot team or to even come up with a whole new team of Dinobots. So we're going to go through it a little bit and find the likely candidates, and we're just going to kind of talk them out just so you know where we might be pulling from. And that starts with the most obvious place, Slash. Slash was technically introduced in Age of Extinction as kind of a feathered raptor Dinobot and as a toy line exclusive. But this one you see here is from Power of the Primes, where she was the first female Dinobot to join in the toy line. And yeah, she forms a Velociraptor. This is kind of going from the Combiner War tradition of having a 6th member who was Legends class to go along with the Deluxes and Voyager that made up the core team. The Dinobots got the same. Now, the difference is that on those teams, they all formed something for the main combiner. Powerglide became a cannon, for instance. We had, they formed weapons or armor. In this case, Slash was Slash. She was just kind of there. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just meant, she didn't have much to do. She's a cool one. She, a Velociraptor, obviously, super popular dinosaur. But I don't know. Considering that these are all going to be at the same size class, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be that much smaller. I think that's not going to be something that could be mistaken for just a T-Rex that hasn't eaten in a while. So it's probably not Slash. Probably not. So let's move on to other types of Dinobot combiners. We go back to Power Core and we go back to Grimstone. And Grimstone is this Styracosaurus kind of a Dinobot. If Slug was an arm or a leg, I'd say this would make a great balance, but considering Slug is the chest, I don't see this as a likely candidate either. Though, as far as just being a big combining Dinobot, this one does have some history and legacy to it. But I'm not foreseeing this one. I don't really think anything from Power Core Combiners is ever going to make a return at some point. So we can mention him, but we admit it's probably not going to be it. What about Paddles? Okay, this is going really obscure. This is an early 2000s story, and there was no I believe this was just a text novel. This is not. I don't think this is a character ever appeared in a comic book or anything. What you're seeing here is just a referential comic that was done later on. It's just thrown in as a reference. Paddles is one of the dumber Dinobots, but also one of the friendliest Dinobots. It's a Dinobot that gets along with humans as well as their fellow Dinobots. To make paddles would be, to be honest, pretty easy. I always wonder why they don't, simply because all you have to do is replace, you take Sludge, you take his beast mode legs off, and you put on flippers for this Plesiodon style dinosaur, and you're done. But that's not the case. That's not the case. Again, because Sludge is taking up the midsection, I don't think they're gonna make that an option. It'd be hilarious. It would break the naming scheme, but also like I don't think you really instill fear into the Decepticon forces when your name is Paddles. Uh, yeah. Let's see. So no. I know fans love Paddles. Paddles has fans, but it's not happening. I'm sorry, it's not. So let's step aside, really, because those are all G1 based combining Dinobots. Let's try to focus on something that's a little bit different, because there are other teams out there. For instance, the Universe Dinobots, or the Beast Machines Dinobots, I should say. This is a pretty ragtag team. It's just made up of random molds from Beast Wars first year and Beast Wars Neo, uh, and a little bit of Transmetal in there too, because why not? Just basically just going like, we have a bunch of dinosaurs, Dinobots sell. Let's just make a Dinobot subline, and then Magmatron. Like, no repaint, no change in name. It's just straight up Magmatron, released in the U.S. So we can kind of acknowledge it's not going to be anyone on this team. All right, we're just not. None of them are traditional Dinobot colors. Most of them are based on dinosaurs that are already on the team, so it really wouldn't be that different. The same reason why I don't think it's going to be Grimstone, because it's just too close to Snarl. Same reason I don't think it's going to be, or too close to Slug, and then I don't think it's going to be Paddles, because it's too similar to Sludge. If we're going to pick anyone, if I had my choice of who to pick from this batch in order to join the mainline Dinobots, it's going to be Airraptor. I loved Airraptor when he first came out. Like, one, it's an Archaeopteryx, which is already like a pretty obscure choice for a dinosaur. I don't think it's technically a dinosaur, so let's not get into semantics here. I know a Pteranodon's technically not a dinosaur either. Okay? Neither is a saber-toothed tiger and a mastodon, but it's still called dinosaurs, all right? Just give me a break. It's a general term. But yeah, I loved this figure. I love the look of the wing making up the poncho. I like the quick draw gimmick that it had. Like, this just was a very thematic and really cool looking toy. If they need, like, the problem with the combining Dinobot team for me is always going to be Swoop and how much smaller he is than the rest of the team. So if they wanted to balance that out, for instance, if like Swoop was just going to be a thin arm with the wings coming off as like a shoulder pauldron, an Airraptor on the other side would actually look really, really good. It'd balance them out really, really well. I could see that as like a very outside possibility, but I don't think they're going to do that either. I really don't. I'm playing devil's advocate here again. I don't think this is going to happen, but I would love for that to happen. What about the movie Dinobots? Because we have, like I mentioned before, Age of Extinction introduced a whole new team of Dinobots, most based on the originals and named after the originals, but a few outliers that actually would kind of work in. And Scorn here is definitely very high on that list. I personally really like Scorn. I'm one of those weird people that didn't like his Voyager toy, but loved his Deluxe, right? If any movie Dinobot was going to make the transition, it would definitely be this one. The Spinosaur mode, super cool looking. I think it's something that pairs well opposite another Dinobot like Grimlock. If you're talking about like who's going to be a leg, who's going to be an arm, then okay, I could actually see that happening. Again, you're dealing with this big fin on his back, but again, clever engineer could work that to balance out Swoop's wings, so you never know. So if they're taking inspiration from movie Dinobots, I think they would be from here. There is one other one that's a little bit unique, and that would be Strafe. Now, technically fits that swoop mold with a Pteranodon. It's the two-headed thing that was super weird, but it kind of worked. Well, no. It was just super weird, wasn't it? Um, yeah. Again, like I said, like if they want to balance out the flyers and the smaller size Dinobots, this is probably a good choice. Something else winged. They're not going to introduce a two-headed dinosaur at this point, though. I think that's run its course. But speaking of Strafe and two-headed Dinobots, we could go in another direction, go straight to IDW. This is it's marked Yellow Leader, but this is IDW's take on Strafe, and she eventually, we see here is in a more standard robot mode. Later on in the comics, she would be mutated into this freakish monstrosity whose alt mode consisted of this long-necked, two-headed. It's a two-headed monster that has like half of each head. It's super creepy. It looks like something out of like a J-horror movie. But it's a Dinobot because she gets adopted into the Dinobots eventually. It's a super weird concept. Again, it's a now as far as like admittedly, as far as like prominence goes, Strafe has far more than any of the other Dinobots in this list so far, simply because she spent so much time in the IDW books with the main team. So she actually does have some notoriety to her. She actually has some level of history with the team, rather than just being, a tag along like Slash or a copycat like Grimstone. She's actually has a unique place in the Dinobots. If they were to do a modern version of this Strafe, I really don't think they're going to do anything like a two-headed, like freakish, uh, Cthulhu looking monster thing. I think they're just going to boil her down into being a basic dinosaur, which is going to be kind of dull, to be honest. But, I mean, really? Nah, they wouldn't do it. I think like the closest they would get to doing that is like making sure the engineering required you to split the neck and head of the dinosaur down the middle in order to transform it. That'd be clever, but it's not going to be done. Um, we need to stick to IDW though, because I'm going to be honest. The last 10 minutes have all just been a pretense. This is just me giving you history of 6th Dinobot members over the years, because really, we already know who it's going to be thanks to a Walmart computer listing. And it's going to be Scar. Scar was another Dinobot introduced in IDW. In fact, he was the team's medic. And you wouldn't think a team as tough as the Dinobots would need a medic. But also, yes, a team that gets into as many fights as the Dinobots, they need a medic. So, Scar was the medic of the team. He's also the one who came up with the idea of adapting new alt modes on the spot, which is what led the Dinobots with a Y to become the Dinobots with an I. And getting his friends to turn into giant mechanical beasts with massive rows of teeth is also what got him killed. Go figure. So Scar does have a place, and he is a Dinobot that not only already has a G1 look to him, but as an added benefit, we've never seen his beast mode. He's a part of the team, but we've never actually seen him with a dinosaur mode because he's so short-lived. So that gives them room to work, right? So we know Scar is going to be the name. It's most likely going to look something like it does here in the comic book page. So we need to kind of figure out what he's actually going to turn into. So this goes into the further theory about the core class Dinobots, because thanks to the position of Slug making up the chest, everyone is pretty much expecting these figures to be a pre-tool for Dino King. So the Dino Forces from Transformers Victory is a Monstructor repaint And the only dinosaur element to it are the pretender shells they all come with. Outside of that, they all just kind of transform into little generic monsters. Yeah, but you can see where, like, you can see where that chest could absolutely be remolded to make out of slug. You can see even like the same midsection shape that sludge is creating when he's in that pelvis mode in that first shot. You can definitely see where it's coming from. So if this holds true, this would explain why Grimlock is not the chess piece, because the member of the Dinoforce member that turns into a T-Rex, or has a T-Rex shell, I should say, forms the leg. He's the green one. He's the left leg there. Which means if we want to figure out the Dinobot mode, all we have to do is look at the team member that would need to be accounted for. And that just means Ankylosaurus. So, little quick TJ fact, the Ankylosaurus is my absolute favorite dinosaur. I've always wanted it to be a Dinobot. Now, that said, there have been attempts. There have been Dinobot Ankylosauruses before. One of them would be Scowl from RID 2015 in the Dinobot. The Dinobot thing there was a little bit looser because everyone was kind of animalistic in the Decepticons, so he didn't really, like, stand out. And of course, he's a bad guy, so, like, we can't really adapt him into a modern Dinobot. So, and then, like, the closest we ever really got was this guy. It's a repaint of Beast Wars Neo Bazooka in the traditional Dinobot colors. This was done during Armada, and is actually, like, getting traditional colors on one of those Dinobot toys from Armada was actually not that common, so I was actually really happy about this. Except his US name was Slapper. So you go like, like Snarl, Slug, Swoop, Slapper. I can see why they went with Scar. So yeah, I'm very happy. I'm hoping that the set is so popular that it takes off and we get Deluxe Voyager Leader Class Scar somewhere down the line in the future, because I would love to have one that's kind of like comparable to like the Studio Series Dinobots. Wishful thinking, because it really just exists to fill out this toy so they can make the Dino Force later. So it's whatever. But you know what? I honestly think I'm getting my G1 Dinobot style Ankylosaurus. Finally. So, that's the prediction. That is what I think all of this is leading up to. So, yeah, sit back, enjoy the ride. Let's see who is right. Thank you for joining me for this history lesson / speculation session. And hopefully, I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.